Welcome into the Ravens Rundown by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Chase Senior. I hope all of you are buckled in and strapped in because on today's show, we have a loaded one on deck for you today. Diving into the latest Baltimore Ravens news and rumors, here's what's on slate for today's show. Ravens reportedly interested in a Deebo Samuel trade. If they go after Deebo Samuel or not, could they also draft Georgia wide receiver George Pickens? And is Derek Stingley the number one cornerback in this class? One of his fellow LSU teammates, Patrick Queen, raving about Derek Stingley. We start off with the latest Baltimore Ravens news and rumors by taking a look at the latest around Deebo Samuel. Ravens have been linked to a Deebo trade as they look for a bona fide number one wide receiver to pair up with Lamar Jackson. Deebo Samuel is certainly of that prototype. They have more than enough draft capital to make a move and a trade with the San Francisco 49ers if John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan elect to move on from Deebo, who is currently seeking a contract within range of $20 and $30 million, given the explosion that the wide receiver market has seen thus far throughout the offseason. So could the Ravens make a trade before the draft for Deebo, considering the draft capital and really all of these Deebo Samuel trade rumors coming to light and the seats starting to get hot in the Bay Area? Now, if you like the idea of Deebo paired with Hollywood Brown, as well as Rashad Bateman, I want you to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video because I'm not sure Brown and Bateman are number one wide receivers, right? I like their skill sets, but then you put Deebo and pair him with both of those players, makes the Ravens offense pretty intriguing. I'm hitting that thumbs up icon. I hope you do as well. I think Deebo on the Ravens offense would make Baltimore a top 5 offense because of the running and passing element that Lamar Jackson poses toward opposing defenses, and the fact that Deebo Samuel is an exceptional, and I mean exceptional football player. Now, of course, when you pay Deebo, let's say $20 to $30 million on an average annual basis, he has missed at least one game throughout each year of his first 3 years in the National Football League. But last year really came onto the scene and solidified himself as one of the best overall football players in the NFL. Through the air, 77 grabs, 1,400 yards, 18 yards per catch to go along with 6 touchdowns. He ended the year with 14 total touchdowns because of the damage that he did in the ground game. Around 80 snaps in the backfield, second in the NFL among all wide receivers. And he was really good, excellent, a game breaker, always a threat when he had the pigskin in his hands to take it to the crib. 56 totes, 365 yards, 8 touchdowns as I talked about, and an average yards per carry at about 7. I think you could get really creative, too, with how you utilize Deebo in this offense, kind of like how the 49ers and Kyle Shanahan used him last year. He can line up out wide as a wide receiver. He can line up in the slot. You can give him jet sweeps as a wide receiver, give him reverses as a wide receiver, or pitches and handoffs in the backfield. He gives you that as well. Now, of course, it's going to cost a lot of money to land a first-team All-Pro and one of the best players in the National Football League. So here's our Deebo Samuel trade idea that we cooked up. Shout out to producer Jeremy Chugs, killing the game and looking swaggy as ever in his shirt right now. 49ers receive a first-round pick, 14th overall, a third-round pick this year as well, and then a fourth-round pick in this year's draft at number 139. Ravens get Deebo Samuel. If you think that's too much, I actually disagree with you because that's right in line with what the Chiefs got back for Tyreek Hill, what the Packers got back for Davante Adams, and you can make the argument, Deebo Samuel, considering the year that he had last year, he's right up there statistically and eye test with those wide receivers. So would you make this trade? I want you to be the general manager of the Baltimore Ravens and then get into the comment section and let me know your feelings about this deal. Type Y for yes, type N for no. Get those votes into the comment section right now. What do you know? A former Baltimore Ravens great. Yeah, do you sense my sarcasm? Earl Thomas wants to get back into the National Football League, and we have been asked here at Chat Sports and on the Ravens Rundown, should Baltimore be interested in signing Earl Thomas, bringing him back? Luckily for all of us, they signed Marcus Williams to a $70 million contract. So anybody who thinks that it's a good idea for Baltimore to go on out there and sign Earl Thomas, no. That's going to be a no from me, dog. I ain't bringing back Earl Thomas. Maybe if he signs on with the team, it's going to be a 2-for-1 deal. It's going to be him signing a contract as well as his brother. We'll see what ends up happening. But if a signing does happen, we'll of course let you know here on the Ravens Rundown. That's why you subscribe to the channel by plugging in that link at the bottom of your screen, youtube.com/RavensTV. Throughout this entire offseason, the channel has continued to grow. And with that, we've been pushing out more videos. So if you want to stay up to date with the latest Ravens news and rumors, just hit that red subscribe button. To the latest on the Ravens in the 2022 NFL Draft, which is coming your way next week already, April 28th to the 30th. We'll be live all 3 days, all 7 rounds, breaking down every single selection on our main Chat Sports YouTube channel. But let's focus in here on George Pickens. Obviously, if we're talking about Deebo Samuel, we know Baltimore has a need at that wide receiver position, and Ravens Twitter in love with George Pickens. Coming off that torn ACL with the Georgia Bulldogs, able to play a couple of games last year after he rehabilitated that injury. And if not for the injury, might be wide receiver 1 in this class. I think he reminds me and gives me shades of a more fast and athletic Alshon Jeffrey. But the point here being in that comp is that he's a big-bodied wide receiver who can high point the football, bring down contested catches like Alshon Jeffrey, like a DeAndre Hopkins, but I like the speed element to his game as well. Now, we're looking at these numbers from 2020 because he barely played in 2021 after suffering that ACL injury. 36 grabs, 513 yards. Keep in mind, in an offense that didn't really throw the football all that well, and 6 touchdowns, their quarterback play was garbage, but still really good numbers at the college ranks. And he reminds me of Alshon Jeffrey for all of those reasons. And when you pair him up with Marquise Brown and Rashad Bateman, that right there is a nice little trifecta and blend of different sizes at that wide receiver position, but also different stylistic components that each of them bring to the table. And Lamar Jackson has kind of let his feelings be known about George Pickens on social media and on Twitter. He's impressed with him, and how can you not be? He really did flash in the final couple games of the regular season, as well as during that college football playoff run for Georgia, as a guy who can get down the field and just make plays downfield, because no other cornerbacks out there can really compete with the size, length, and athleticism of George Pickens. So if he's there in round 2, when the Ravens selection does come around, would you draft him if you're the Baltimore Ravens? Once more, sound off in the comment section, D for draft or P for pass. And speaking of the NFL draft, as I teased earlier, we will be live all 3 days, all 7 rounds, every single pick of the 2022 NFL draft on our main Chat Sports YouTube channel. Last couple of years, we've been the most watched NFL draft coverage on YouTube. We don't plan on switching that up anytime soon, so join us, youtube.com/chatsportstv. Right now, the Ravens do have a pretty good secondary, but if they go best player available, could they draft Derek Stingley Jr., the really good cornerback prospect out of LSU, regarded as one of the top CBs in this class? And yeah, you have Marlon Humphrey, you have Marcus Peters, but you can never have enough good cornerbacks in today's pass-happy NFL. Patrick Queen was asked about his former LSU running mate on that defensive side of the ball during that national championship season. He said, this guy's a dog. Derek Stingley Jr. was different the day that he came in. He came in early while we were practicing for the bowl game my sophomore year. He came in, practiced, and he was going up against Jamar Chase and those guys, and he was balling then. So when he got there freshman year, you could see it. Every day at practice, he was going up against Jamar and Justin Jefferson, just locking them down. And on top of that, he had a really good pro day. I mean, Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson, right now in the NFL, not just 2 of the best young wide receivers in the game, they're 2 of the best overall wide receivers in this game. And if Derek Stingley Jr. in practice is able to lock those guys down, you know the competitive spirit they play with down there in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, they're dogs. They're getting after it every single practice. It's not like it comes without effort. That's why you extract and bring the best out of your teammates, because the competition is so high. So you know those guys were taking that personally, and Derek Stingley, according to Patrick Queen, who was there firsthand to see it, was balling out, playing really well. And I think in the right scheme, Stingley can be special. And sometimes it's all about where you go, the environment, the foundation. Baltimore has it, folks. They've been breeding defensive backs for a really, really long time. And I think Stingley is going to be a stud. And if he lands to the Ravens, look out, NFL. This guy's going to continue to ball out, especially considering the talent that would be around him on that defense. Better cornerback prospect. Embrace debate. Is it Stingley? Is it Ahmad Sauce Gardner? Let me know. I'm going to give the slight lean to Derek Stingley. I might be in the minority in saying that, but I'm going Stingley. You disagree with me, it's all good. Type AG. Either way, sound off and let me know.